Greetings folks, I'm just out from the High Court. Today in the High Court, the refusal by Justice Emily Egan today in the High Court to not grant me my motions to preserve the election documents, particularly where a Garda investigation is underway, and I now as a candidate seeking to examine possible election irregularities now raises serious legal and public interest concerns. Look, let's break it down folks, what my options are now. Option number one, I can appeal under an error of law, as I believe Justice Emily Egan failed to apply the correct legal standards under the Electoral Act of 1992, Section 132 of the Act, which permits the court to preserve documents if there are reasonable grounds. Two, Her Honour Justice Emily Egan failure to consider the ongoing criminal investigation. The judge appears to have disregarded the fact that An Garda Síochána is actively investigating possible election frauds and election irregularities, making the preservation of these documents essential for the evidence of these investigation. Justice Emily Egan's decision that it's not necessary to make any orders may be viewed as irrational or contrary to public interest in a democratic process. Look, I advised Justice Emily Egan that I would now be bringing an emergency injunction for a stay for the implementation of Justice Egan's ruling, where I will ask the courts for an interlocutory stay on the release of the destruction of any election-related documents pending the hearing of this appeal. I have also now, since I came out of court, I have wrote and sent a letter to both the DPP and the Garda Commissioner and the Gardaí that are investigating this live investigation into election irregularities, to inform them that a High Court judge today, Justice Emily Egan, has refused to preserve evidence that is directly related to a criminal investigation and election irregularities investigation, and that I, as a witness and the complainant, believe this compromises justice. I'm now asking them to issue a formal preservation order to the Clerk of the Dáil and the returning officer, Padraig Burke, and to consider intervening out of public interest. Look, today, Justice Emily Egan, I believe she refused to protect your vote. Look, folks, I believe now this is going to mushroom into something huge now altogether, because, you know, justice denied when evidence is dismissed. It's not a democratic society we're living in. You know, out of public interest, folks, I'm going to fight this to the end, and I need your support now, folks. Please rally on and support me on Keen Save Ireland GoFundMe page, because I'm not letting this battle over because, you know, of what one judge has said. And even this morning when I went in with an ex-parte document for the inspection to Justice Bolger in relation to inspecting all the ballot information, she refused that motion as well. And I asked the judge, you know, on what grounds could she show me the act, or where it states in the act that she's refusing these, because I'm, as a candidate, entitled to do this. Look, folks, we need this Irish cobbled together government out. You know, they know now that I'm going with a High Court injunction now to stop this, and I'm not going to stop. You know, we need justice. Like, this country, every day, the carnage that's happening, decent Irish people, it's absolutely appalling. Look, folks, we need the whole country up in O'Connell Street and the Garden Remembrance at 2 o'clock this Sunday in a peaceful protest to, you know, raise awareness to get this government out of office. You know, we as Irish people now are at boiling point, and I am not going to let this matter lie. And remember one thing, while the judge has said this, there's no time limits on a fraud investigation. And, you know, I will now go for that interlocutory injunction to preserve the votes. But isn't it a sad day in this country when this happens and you know, a judge in the High Court can make this ruling, and all the evidence in front of her, and even the Gardaí even stating, you know, in a letter that they need this evidence for the purpose of the investigation. You know, there's no justice in a democracy now in this country, and you know, when we've news talk readers on the radio and from News Talk saying about our flag and calling far right people racist, you know, it's gone to another level, folks. But look, I'm Michelle Keane. I'm keen on my country, and let's stick with the process. So people log on to Keane Save Ireland GoFundMe page, because I'm not letting the Irish government or the judicial process away with silencing me. Goramila Mahagav.